demo zones that we have. There's one in each hall. And after our presentation this morning, we actually have lunch on the show floor. And the lunch will also, we will have a setup in each one of the halls. So please make sure you come in. We'll all be together. So this morning, I'm really excited to introduce to you Eric Goranson. Eric is a kitchen and bath designer and a sales professional with 25 years of experience in the industry. He has managed all segments of the kitchen and bath industry. He's the host of Around the House with Eric G. on KXL Radio 101 and broadcast all over the Northwest Radio Network. He's also the owner of Design by Eric G. He's been with HGTV as a kitchen and bath expert. Even this week, he did some filming for This Old House. So please welcome Eric Goranson.
All right, let me kill this mic so we don't make it bad for you guys. Thanks for having me. This has been great. This is my first time in Boston. I'm Eric Goranson. My history, I've got 25 years in the kitchen and bath industry, 28 in home improvement. So there's a lot of different segments that I've been in. I've actually worked for Home Depot for 366 days. So I've kind of seen, had a contract for a year, and I took advantage of that. So one of the big things about being the expert that I want to talk about is there's lots of different ways to do it, but I want to break it down because when you look at people out there, we always seem to have communicated in one way, but we have so much information now that how we communicate to a millennial is different than a Generation Y or like me, a Generation X. And so those are the things I want to talk about so you can understand the best way to communicate with people, because we have so much information. Like I said, we can fine-tune that so you can be in touch with your people. So let's start out here first. I want to congratulate Boston here in New England for doing this. Well done, everybody. And I will say, just as a side note, Julie and I have been walking around for the last couple of days. I want to say this is a very kind town, because as a Seahawks fan myself, you guys treat people well here. And I wanted to start out with this as well. I'm always going to be a Seahawks fan, but I also wanted to show you the only touchdown in Atlanta that the Rams had. But let's get into this. The future is now. This is the Lobot. This is what Lowe's is going to have run around in their stores as a customer service expert. So it's going to come around, and if you want to look for something in the store, you're going to be able to talk to it. It's going to take you over to the location. That's already in 11 stores in the Bay Area in San Francisco. So this is kind of where retail is going to be going. Now, is that going to give you a personalized customer service experience? No. But will it solve some of their problems of no help, no experts in the building? It might. It's going to at least get people off their phones and asking a robot what's going on. So really, when it comes down to it, this is where the future of technology is going to be going. And it's how we personalize it as retailers and wholesalers of how it goes. I was in Vegas for the World of Concrete. You can jump in an Uber that's a self-driving car. So the next thing that I see going with that is going to be self-driving lumber trucks. I think that's where it's going to be going. And I think that's going to be by 2025. We've already got semi-trucks that they're testing out there right now that have full-on dock-to-dock delivery stuff. My son works actually he's a truck driver. He's 22 years old in the frozen foods industry. It unloads itself. He backs up to the dock. The robots come in, pull the material out the back. This is happening today, and it's been going on for a while. So these level of automation is going to be out there. Do you guys have to invest in that now? Absolutely not. But it's how do you combat it? That's where the key is. See, here's one thing. I know everybody's always concerned, or most people are concerned about the box stores. They're like big cruise ships. I worked inside of one of these things. They don't react to anything quickly. It's like a big cruise ship making a U-turn. It takes miles and miles for these things to do that. They've got focus groups and 32 layers of management. And quite frankly, they treat their people not the best. And I think this is where grabbing people inside of these box stores and grabbing the key ones out to bring into your organization is a great thing. And it's a good place to go. There is one box store in my experience, though, that worked out really well. And Lowe's bought them a number of years ago. And this is something that we should all kind of take in mind of a really successful business model that had happy customers and happy people. It was in the Northwest. It was called Eagle Hardware and Garden. And they had a mantra that was more of everything. You walked in the store, they had the white polished VCT tile, bright, warm, comfortable lights, and aisles of hardware. There were 6 aisles of bins and things like that. Electrical department had an electrician that was on staff that had retired. The guy that was working the door and window department had been a finish carpenter, union finish carpenter that had retired and was wanting to do something with his time. They brought people in, paid them well, and they crushed Home Depot up in the Northwest. So much so, it took them, that was their last area of the country to come into, because they started putting small stores in there, and they were having to close them. And so, just because it's a big box store, I don't want everybody to go, oh wow, they got it. That is not really a great competitor if you run your company correctly with this. So I don't want anybody to be scared about that. And I want you through this presentation to be open about some of the things I'm going to talk about, because I think it's going to really help you battle against these guys, because when it comes down to it, these big box stores are going to be sitting there spending hundreds of millions of dollars going after the contractor business, because they realize that for them, if they can build a loyalty, that's where that return business is. And quite frankly, unless it's you've got a really good single store market where there's a good manager and a good sales team, and there's actually a good thing, as a whole, they're not doing very well with it, but they're trying. So let's talk about this a little bit. Our customer base out there is rapidly changing. It is amazing how many different segments now we have. It was just your customers and your clients. Now we're talking about the different segments of it. Generation Z, born between 1997 and 2012. These are the young ones. This is your first mobile generation. They grew up with a mobile device in their hand. They don't know what encyclopedias are. If you watched YouTube, there was a great thing up a couple weeks ago where a parent put a dial phone in front of them and gave them a phone number and gave them 5 minutes to figure out how to call somebody on it. They couldn't figure it out. They were dialing it. They had no idea what to do with it. Next year, that's going to be 40% of all consumers. So think about that. If you take your business, that's going to be 40% of the consumers out there that could potentially be buying things from you. That's a big deal. And then the other thing is, we've never trained them to pick up the phone. So if you're thinking of, I'm a call-in, consumer-based company, no one has taught these kids to sit here, and I say kids because I'm a Generation Xer, to pick up a phone and call somebody. They want a text. They want a mail, voicemail. They want to do something, some kind of a mobile device thing besides calling the phone. And there's big companies that are actually addressing this really well. I went and bought a Mercedes, a used one from the dealer, from the Mercedes dealer. I could text through their system, into my sales guy and talk to him that way. And it went in through their system into where it showed up on his computer as a text. I wasn't hitting his cell phone, but I was hitting his internal message database. And I went, you know, these guys are on this, because you could message into him, and if he wasn't in there, it would automatically forward over to somebody that was in there. So I had a 7-day-a-week solution. And for Generation Z, I think that is something that can be a fairly low dollar investment that might be able to have you communicate to those potential customers out there. Because with all that you're seeing out there, especially with all this Generation Next, I was with the guys over there at This Old House this week, and they're pushing to get people back into the trades again, which of course is our #1 biggest problem out there. But these people are going to start coming through the system here pretty soon. You're going to see this because it's starting to pay off. So how we communicate with these new people, I think, is going to be key to every one of our business plans out there. Millennials. Sorry to the millennials out there. You get abused by everyone. You're blamed for everything. Oh, it's the millennials. It's the millennials. You know, it's we handed out too many trophies to them as kids. I get it. But they're spending $600 billion a year right now. That's a big dollar amount. And again, they're our largest consumer generation to date. They're the biggest chunk out there right now of people coming through. And that's one of those things when you're a quarter of the population, you need to think about how to communicate with these people as well. Brand loyalty, that's a problem. That's another one of those things that we need to think about when we're communicating with them. They don't grab a brand and go, that works, that's great, okay, I'm sticking with it. They're always looking for the new thing. But if you connect with them and create that reason, that's where that happens. And they're definitely an endorsement-based thing. If they have a friend that said, hey, try this, they're going to take that as a personal reference, and they're going to basically eliminate the online, oh, this is what you need to get. But if you can find that or a review, they're more likely to do business with you that way. Generation X, this is me. We have dealt with technology changes our entire lives. I mean, I started out in typing class, and we went into basic little computers, had the Ataris, those kind of things. We worked through technology changes, so we're pretty easy to adapt because we've gone from there to actually figuring out how to use these crazy new big smartphones, computer systems, everything else. But they appreciate straightforward messaging. They want it straight. No fluff. Is this going to work for me, yes or no? Don't pitch me. Don't sell me. Black and white. Give it to me. But the big part of this is, what does this all mean? These are your new consumers. We've always thought about our consumers as the building professionals. It's the DIY people out there. But to really effectively communicate, we need to start segmenting these people out. Because if we hit it as a whole, we're going to miss most of them. And so that's how you kind of need to think of your marketing, your branding, and more importantly, your customer service. Because each one, you've got to kind of deal with it as a different segment. Now, home centers, like we were talking about, are spending hundreds of millions of dollars out there going after these people. And most of the time, they're run by big PR agencies that are throwing stuff out there. Right now, the #1 advertiser in radio across the country is Home Depot. Because they're trying to figure out how to communicate with people and get them in. Now, home centers are going to start using, they're looking into it now, facial recognition software. So when you walk in the front door, they're going to start signing up their contractors. Hey, let's take a picture so we have it, so we can do this for security for your account. They're going to start doing it that way. But what's that going to give them? That's going to give them facial recognition stuff. So when that contractor walks in the door, they can go, ABC Construction's here. Let's make sure we take care of that guy. And they're going to send their A1 guy over there, or girl, to go handle this. So they're going to send the experts. This is kind of where that's going. How do you address that? Some easy things to do. Before we get into social media, you bring in the experts yourself and make sure you got them. And you make sure that they are recognized as the experts. Everybody goes, oh, all my team's experts. That's great. But the key is when you think about dealing with the home centers as an example, they have people that are fairly unhappy. They're working late nights on Sundays. They're fairly unappreciated, and this isn't a bash on them, but I can say as a personal experience, they're not happy with where they're at, which gives you a great labor pool to pull from if you find somebody they're good. But when you dive into that, the key is to make them happy and bring them over, because that happy workplace ends up with happy customers. happy customers spend money with you. And that's kind of the direction you need to think about it. So let's talk about social media for a minute. There's two different things with social media. You got your Instagrams, your Twitters, your Facebooks, all that stuff, which generally is a free way to communicate to your customers. It's a tough one to get into, but if you take key people in your organization, like on your design teams or whatever, you can communicate. If you build those followers, you can talk to thousands of people for free. It's just the labor of doing it. You don't have to have advertising contracts. You don't have to spend even money on Facebook ads. If you build up those social media followings, you can talk to everybody. You can specials, contractor barbecues. You can go through and actually build Facebook accounts for the different segments of people you're working with. You're going to have a mass builder Facebook page. You can have a DIY page. You can have your remodeler page and communicate directly to those people. Hey, we're having a remodeler barbecue on Friday. We've got these guys come in. We're going to have Q&A sessions with this door window company and all this. And you can communicate these guys very easily. Now, here's the one key with social media you can do. If you've got a social media person in there working, you put a manager on it. Before something gets out of control, if you train your consumers and clients and customers, when they start feeling unhappy, if you train them to send you a message to the company on Facebook, or maybe even Instagram, now you've got feedback coming back to you before it ends up turning into a bad online review or a bad customer that goes out there. Sometimes people don't feel comfortable sitting there picking up the phone and filing a complaint and getting people worked up. I tell you what, you put them on social media, they have no fear whatsoever. But I'd rather have them send you a message than jump up on Facebook and make a complaint about, oh man, these guys were horrible, my delivery was 2 hours late yesterday. I'd much rather make them feel like they've got a solution. And when you fix it well. I mean, dive in, take care of that customer. And that's the key. When you're dealing with, and you guys have been doing this forever like everybody else in this room, it's not about many times about that low price. It's about actually taking care of it and being the easy button for every single one of these people. I mean, I've gone everything, and I spent probably 10 years turning around kitchen and bath companies where I thought, hey, this is going to be great. I'm going to go into this kitchen and bath company. Maybe it's in a lumber yard. Maybe it was a custom cabinet shop. Whatever it was, and flipping around and turning these companies around. The biggest problem I saw out of all of those were horrible internal systems that made it rough to work in. If your systems do not make it easy for your salespeople or designers out there or counter people or whatever, it's hard. And then when they're struggling, they're miscommunicating, which creates errors, and errors hit your bottom dollar like there's no business. And it was kind of funny that going through that, people were like, oh, hire some great designers for that kitchen and bath team. No. Hire great salespeople that can design. Because they're going to get out and be your solution people. Don't just go hire, oh, that's the best designer in town. They might be a wonderful designer, but if they can't sell, they're not going to make you $1. So you got to come in from that direction when you're dealing with that. You could have the best window and door expert that you're bringing into your company, but if they don't know how to sell and don't have good selling skills, you're not going to get anywhere. But one more thing with social media that I want to talk about that's important with that is that you can control the narrative of your company and you can build excitement. If you've got a new brand you're bringing on, boy, make a deal out of it. Make it a reveal. I've seen people go out on social media and build almost like the 50s when they did the new car review. If they've got a new line of something come out, they have a barbecue, they have a party, they make a big thing out, they invite all their key customers versus social media. It's amazing. People, when they get home from work, they jump on that. It's a tool that you can use, and it's a tool that if you use it correctly, with low dollars, it can make you a ton of money. investing in the customer experience. And this is a big one. Like we were talking about, make it easy to do business with you. I think going forward, we're going to see everything being done as an app base. I think it's smart to go through and invest in the right places with social media and with delivery stuff. I mean, delivery tracking is big. I mean, the airline lost my luggage when I came in here. Happens. But I got an email from Alaska Airlines that said, all right, this company's going to be delivering your luggage. It was findmyluggage.com, and it had an app, and it showed where my delivery was on my luggage coming to my hotel. So I think with the building industry as a whole, when you can have that level of contact with your consumer, you're not going to have as many of those phone calls. Hey man, they said they're going to be here at 6 a.m. at 6:02, where they at? When somebody can look down at their phone and go, oh, it's already left the yard. It's coming. I think that is where this direction is going to go. Do I think that we're going to have all these robots running around in lumber yards here in the next 5 years? If you want to, it's kind of cool. Is that going to be normal? Absolutely not. But I think having these things that make you do business easily with consumers is going to be big. I'm going to be talking about, over the technology center over there, virtual reality for design services. And I want to touch on this because this is a big thing. The days of the big showroom are over. If you want to spend the money on it, great. But you don't need it to actually close a kitchen and bath sale these days. And I know that's a lot of shock to a lot of people. But if you think about it on the dollar figure, designs change. Styles change quicker than ever before. It used to be that 15 years ago, styles would come out in a magazine, and that was kind of the magazine was the first way that you would see things come out. Well, it took that project a year to get into that magazine. So by the time styles came through, you had 5 years on style. Now I can take a picture or have my photographer do it. It's on a magazine website in 25 to 30 days. And now it's out there. The problem with that, styles change quickly. How does that relate to you as a showroom owner? That colored gray was in 2 years ago. It's out. Now it's color. Used to be oil rub bronze was huge. Now it's brushed gold. These things are not going to be on 5-year cycles anymore. They're probably going to be on 2 or 3 year cycles. The problem with that is now you're spending an extra $100,000 a year changing out showroom displays. And that's where those things start to add up. With virtual reality, you can actually put in and get more door samples and more color samples and stand the consumer right inside their own kitchen off the design you created using 2020, and they can twist around and look inside the thing. Now you don't have to have a showroom that shows them what somebody else's kitchen will look like. Now you can put on a set of glasses that's going to show you what their kitchen's going to look like. Are the home centers going to put in virtual reality glasses? No, because they're going to be worried about somebody destroying them, running them over with a forklift, or get stolen out of the building. I don't see them using it any other time. But when you take stuff like that and actually put it into your social media, it's pretty easy. You've got all these consumers. Take a picture of your consumer using the virtual reality glasses. They're going to share it on Facebook. Hey, I'm out designing my new kitchen. They tag your business in it. Wow, that's going out to another 400 or 500 people out there. They now know you do it. Instant free advertising via social media. So by creating those things, you can really create the own buzz and be the technology experts within that. Simple things that I use out there as well, just the Adobe stuff. The Adobe stuff when you're out there, and I guess how many people in here use Adobe and are logged into an actual Adobe system where they use it for document signing and everything else? It's great. It saves me a ton of paper, and here's why. And again, they're not paying me anything to say this, but when I print on my design plans, I print a PDF. I can type in on that document all my door styles, colors, everything else. I create a plan page with that for my consumer to sign off. I can email it over to them. They don't even have to come to my showroom. They can be sitting in their office at home. I can have everything on that plan. They can initial it, DocuSign it, everything else. I just saved them one meeting and one trip. That means I closed it that much quicker. You can do the same thing with windows, doors, any other special order item out there. And it's fully documented, and for the $12 a month per user that they usually hit you with for that, it's not too bad. And I'm not printing out and going through reams of paper every day. If you print to that, modify it, you've got a digital copy that goes up in the cloud, and then you can turn around and print off of that, and it saves you reams of paper, and it's a greener option. There are so many industry changes out there with technology. Great example. I was with a builder in the Portland market. We were driving around because they wanted a corded power tool. They couldn't find a 1/2-inch drill in the city of Portland in 12 stops. You could sit here and use that Milwaukee saw right there if you're a framer, and you might change that battery once. The days of the corded power tool are just about gone. And if you own a generator company, you probably should be marketing to charging batteries now versus running cords all over a job site. And again, these are some of the things that if you stay on top of these things, it helps you with merchandising, it helps you with all of those different keys of being the expert. Battery technology is amazing. I have that saw right there at home, and I've never had to actually change, and I'm not framing every day, but if I'm doing big projects, I've never had to change that battery. It's a 12-amp hour battery, and they're getting better. Now, technology is where that's going as well, and this is where you can help all your builders and remodelers out there by talking about this stuff. You're not going to get a Milwaukee tool stolen these days. If you do, they'll probably get it back. Why? They have an app called One Key. So if that's stolen, you can sit there with that on your phone and set up a geofence around your job site. When you do that, that saw, if it moves outside of that area, it alerts you. So you can sit here and take that and jump down and go, that thing's stolen. It turns that saw off. So what happens? The thief gets it out, oh, it doesn't work. I'm going to take it down to the Milwaukee Service Center and they're going to fix it. They're going to be a brand new saw with a new serial number. This is going to be great. Nope. That's inside the computer chip on the inside of it. They plug it in, they're like, oh, that was stolen from Mike's Contracting over there. Thanks for bringing it back to us. Milwaukee's been returning tens of thousands of tools to contractors every year with this key. How does it make you an expert as well? Well, if you get on it, Bosch is doing this now, DeWalt's doing it, they're all starting to get into this thing. But the key with this is now you can actually help them get better blade life, because now with Sawzalls, Milwaukee's got it when you get into the Bluetooth type thing on it, you set it up in your app. I'm going to use that for cutting steel. Awesome. Now I can dial the blade down because you need to cut steel with a lot slower speed on it. So when you set that, you can actually set that, and you'll get 10 times the blade life out of it because you're not burning the saw blade up. Helping your consumers be educated on what's new and what's great out there, and more importantly, using your vendors to target that, going to make happy people. Happy contractors are ones that don't show up at the job site in the morning, their trailer's missing with all their tools. Funny story, my car got broken into right when I picked it up. We were out at dinner. My backpack was in it, they took it out. I had 2 Milwaukee tools in the back. They didn't grab it. They're right there. Now, it's not any value to them anymore. They know they're not going to be able to do anything with it because they're going to know that they can track it. So those are the things that are going to really change on the retail industry on that stuff. It's important. Now here's one of the most important things as a retailer that I think a lot of companies get and a lot of companies don't. When things go wrong. And that's about as important as the sun coming up in the morning. Every day something's going to go wrong. How do we handle it is big. In the kitchen and bath industry that I've worked in the most, we spend, if the department's being run right, you're managing that paperwork flow, and more importantly, you're documenting everything from door styles, edge profiles, colors, all those things. But how you handle that consumer and how you handle that builder is going to be huge. Because what's happened is, and I've had remodelers that have worked with me for 20 years. Didn't matter if I moved 3 hours away. They still dealt with me because I was living in Portland. They were in Seattle. No, man, I'm still buying from you. Dude, I'm 4 hours away. Don't care. And it's because of how you build that loyalty within them. And by building that loyalty, I mean fixing it when it gets wrong. Because it could be a damaged cabinet, it could be a broken window, it could be whatever comes out there. But that key of owning it and just being straight up, we made a mistake, let's fix it. And that's the hardest to get salespeople to deal with, but it's probably one of the most important. And if you spent more time training, it's going to turn out in more loyal customers, and more loyal, builders and remodelers. Because that's the one thing when I've gone back and actually questioned the people I've worked with, why have you done business with me for this long? I've made higher margin than every one of the other people out there. It's like because you're predictable, and we know how this is going to go, and we know if something goes wrong, it's going to get figured out somehow. So, my advice to everybody with this, it might cost you a little bit more by owning it and going that extra mile. But think of that as a marketing dollar and not a red line expense on your bottom line. Because if you turn around and go, hey man, I know you miscut all that crown molding, man. Well, you helped me out a couple weeks ago when you had to remake a cabinet for me. I'm buying you new crown molding. Those kind of things are what build that loyalty and get that guy coming back no matter what, or that girl coming back, and that's how you build that loyal customer base. I want to talk about this one because this is one of the big things that I think is the biggest scary thing with technology. Where do you spend the money and where not to? Because I know as a business owner, you've got everybody coming at you 24/7 from every direction with technology. It could be delivery systems. It might be the new copier, the greatest thing out there. Everybody's coming at you. I think one of the things a retailer, have home technology stuff inside the store on a shelf. And I'm talking the Ring doorbell. I'm talking any of those products like that. I've got a ratio sprinkler timer that goes on my sprinkler system at home. That saved me more money than any other home technology thing. Because when it knows the rain's coming, it's grabbing the weather from the National Weather Service. Doesn't water my lawn that day. And you can get it down with a water meter. It goes right next to your meter. You put it on the inside of the meter there. And if it's leaking water, it tells you about it. It says, hey, you're losing this many gallons a day. Fix your water system. Those kind of things can, one, be good margins, and two, if you've got the support staff there within your sales staff to be able to understand that and to be able to sell it, I think it also makes you an expert. You'll see it on the shelf for the same price at the home center. Go down and try to ask a couple technical questions about it. Not going to happen. It's right there. They're going to start reading the box. Home technology is going to be huge. And by diving into that, I think it's one of those things that's going to really make you money and make you the expert as well. Now, design services, that's a big one. The technology's big. You can literally, if you've got the right partnership, you can be selling design services for about 3 or 4 states out of one location if you do it right. You can do anything via Skype these days. I've sold a whole cabinet package to Japan. Never met the guy, never been inside the house. I did a kitchen in New York here. I've never been in the kitchen before. I did it from Portland. Because I could Skype around the room, I had a good communication with the contractor, and we made it all work. Nobody came into my location. I've sold about 800 kitchens without having anybody step inside my showroom. Because I showed up at the job site with door samples in hand, color blocks, great design program. And if you can do that, that's where you need to start thinking about the idea of the big showroom. It's a great piece inside your office, but it's an expensive piece that's going to get more to maintain. I could sit here now with this laptop, roll into somebody's house, put on virtual reality on their headset, inside their own living room. They can feel that, and they've never had to travel to my retail location. I can also, like I was saying, I can Skype into somebody on vacation and have a design meeting for an hour on Skype. It doesn't cost you anything because you're using a free program. It comes with your office stuff out there that you already have. So these are things, again, when you get into technology, use the stuff that's provided for you that's fairly inexpensive, and then buy the ones that you're going to need, because that's where you get into the key stuff with that. The other thing I want to talk about with technology, work with partners that have good technology. I love little custom cabinet shops, but they've cost me a lot of money because they don't have the systems with the design programs that actually work. I love those guys. But when you're dealing with the bigger retailers, the 2020 program, they spent the money to design the catalog, so it actually shows the clear vertical grain on the door set before you, or it shows you the grain direction of the drawer fronts. So when you're signing off on drawings and it shows those in the drawings, it shows it there. As well as those big companies can be really good partners if you negotiate it correctly, where you're not costing as much money, they're going to actually help put product in your location for next to nothing. So think about those kind of things. I have no problems with the local cabinet shops, but with technology, that's the part that they're going to probably cost you a little bit of money. Now, if they're going to put a lot of samples in your hand, I get it. But think about those relationships going forward with technology. And to tell you what, these home centers are going to be dealing with all the major brands out there. That's one leg up they're going to try to get on everybody out there, just using those kind of things. I want to talk about this as well because it's in my wheelhouse. That expense of the large showroom, and I want to circle around on this again one more time. You can take that showroom in many cases and cut that back in half, design it out so you've got a really nice thing. As long as you're showing each cabinetry brand, so they can open up a cabinet and see what the drawer box looks like. To actually complete the sale, that's what you need. Now you can take that other half that was your retail showroom and put other products in there that can make you money. Maybe it's your technology, maybe it's lighting, maybe it's some of these other things that you can make great margins on. Maybe it's going to be more doors and windows. Whatever your market is, that can make you a ton of cash because it comes down to square foot costs. What is that square foot going to cost you in that building to make that money? You can cut that in many cases, that square footage down by 50% and still have the same amount of revenue coming out of that department and open up that retail space for everybody else. So maybe think about what you're missing, because the more one-stop shop you can make your location, the easier it's going to be for those consumers to come in and buy with you. If they're coming in for kitchen and bath, cabinetry, and they're coming in for doors and windows and lumber, and if you could slide over, maybe get a little bit of lighting in there, or maybe you could throw a little bit of technology in there, or a little bit of plumbing stuff in there. If you're that easy answer for them to pop into, that's one less chance they're going to go into that home improvement store down the street that's the big box and spend some dollars in there. And the more loyalty you get with that, the better you are. I would love everybody to stop over the technology here a little bit later and play with the virtual kitchen when you get a chance, so you guys can experience this. When you're doing this, you can literally stand in that kitchen, look down, look up, you have the full feel of it. We're going to play with that. But the key with this, again, I have $1,500 into that setup up there. It's this laptop and a headset. I can't buy cabinetry or put a countertop on a new display for that, unless you've got a really good part that's going to give it to you for free. So by doing that, if you give one of these kits to every one of your salespeople, guess what? You already need to have this computer to run the design program. If you have a good computer running that design program anyway, you're buying another $400 reality set to go with it. And now you're closing the deal with them. Here's one of the most important things with technology when it comes down to it. Using the cloud. I had a kitchen and bath showroom that I was managing where they didn't want to use the cloud about 8 years ago. Everybody left for the holiday weekend. They left their laptops in the office. I had 6 designers in there that I was managing. Somebody came through, smashed and grabbed the front window, grabbed all 6 laptops, ran out the door. That is 6 design team members that lost every single design file that they've ever had at one time. They had to go back and recreate. It cost that company hundreds of thousands of dollars and time for everybody to go back and recreate those design files. Maybe you got a power spike that takes out the computers, maybe it's a fire, maybe it's anything else. If you save it to the cloud, you just create that design file, save it up here, you've got it now forever. And if you do it correctly, they can be out at a job site, they can be at home, they can be anything, and they can access anything they need. Heck, they can be on vacation, they can be at a seminar, and they can get everything there. That is one of the keyest things with that. And it's secure as well, because they have to log in. You can track it, see who's going in there from a business manager, and see what's going on. Now, the coolest thing with the cloud is when you've got a virtual kitchen, you can actually use the cloud to market things. So, you create that virtual kitchen file for that customer, for Mrs. Smith and her brand new kitchen that she's doing. That's a social media marketing tool. You save that, you train your sales designer team to take that, drag it in the customer file for Smith. Now you take it and drop it off there. You've got now every single consumer you have in there, you're creating your new virtual showroom. And if they've got a white shaker kitchen that's got, Gen Air appliances or Sub-Zero in it, you have them save it to white shaker kitchen with Sub-Zeros. So before you even are working with a brand new client, and they are, I'm thinking about doing, I saw in the magazines, I really like this white shaker kitchen with Sub-Zero appliances. You can go, I got 4 of those, let me show you. Set the glasses on, and now they're walking around in Mrs. Smith's kitchen. Now, for security reasons, you can call that the white shaker kitchen 1. Doesn't matter. You've already built out, with every single new consumer, you have built out another virtual kitchen that's going to help you close things. You can do that with houseplants too. Maybe you've got a design that they've drawn out, and it's got all the windows in it. Okay, great. These are these Anderson windows with this. Everything else, it's in the drawing. You can do the same thing. You can open that drawing up, look around the space, see the flooring that they use, you can look at the windows in the thing, and you can experience it the same way. It's not only for kitchen and bath. By saving those, the longer you go, the bigger the library, the easier you are, and the easier close you're going to have with that builder, remodeler, retail consumer. That's where that cloud can help you. And if it's in the cloud, they could show up in the consumer store for that first initial meeting. Oh, I was thinking about white. I really just want to go natural cherry. Well, hold on a minute. And they log in. There you go. You have that with you anywhere you go. In the cloud, pretty inexpensive. Not a big deal to do that. That's in that hundreds of dollars versus thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars. Now here's the thing. I think self-driving vehicles, like we talked about, is the key. I think it's going to change how we do business here in the next 5 to 10 years. It was interesting. We talk about virtual reality, AI, all these different things out there. You guys might have seen that interview with Joe Rogan that made the news here recently with Elon Musk with Tesla. And everybody was freaking out about he was smoking pot. The irony of that wasn't that he was smoking pot. It was the 20 minutes that he talked about how robotics and virtual reality is great, but when you start getting into all these other things, AI, He's scared to death of it. That's great. But it's something that we gotta pay attention to. That was cool, they're all talking about pot smoking, but the most interesting thing of that was his fear of technology moving forward. And I'll be honest, to me, if he's fearful of it, maybe he might be onto something. Does that change what we're doing now? Not at all. But I think smart decisions on the retail front of getting the right people in there, taking care of them, and using automation to make you money and be safer for your employees. I mean, think about it. One of the things you deal with as a delivery company is bumping into stuff on job sites. And if you can make that almost an impossible thing, it saves you on insurance, saves you on losses with, somebody running over the honey bucket truck out there to somebody getting hurt. So I think these things are going to be a little bit easier on us, especially on the higher risk jobs out there. And I think that's right around the corner. I think we'll see that by 2025. Now, whether or not people want to invest in that or not, I don't know. You'll have builders that are out there, I don't know, some robotic truck out of my job site. Of course you will. You also have a Gen Z go, wow, that's the coolest lumberyard I've ever been to. They got robot. So those are the things we need to balance as far as our building plans going forward on businesses on how to do that. So in a nutshell, a couple of things that I want you to think about moving forward. Taking care of those consumers and being the expert. I can't tell you the great places that I've worked over the years. The ones that have the employees that got the most out of it were the happiest. And it wasn't that they worked less hours or anything like that. They were just appreciated. They had support. Those are some of those things that if they're in an unhappy work environment, you're never really going to take care of that consumer out there because they can smell it badly. Here's some information with me as well that I'd like for you guys to feel free to jump on if you have any questions with any of this stuff. But, do we have any questions right now before I go any further? Nothing. Right on. So social media is a big thing, like we were talking about. You can get on there and spread the word with every single thing your people do. New cabinet vendors, new window and door vendors. Heck, it's a snow day, you can't get in there. You put on social media, hey, road's closed to the store. So people will go on Google and look for hours. If they can't see it on there, what do? Go to social media, hey, let's check the Facebook page. Are they open today? Maybe you got a power outage or you got a water thing down where you can't even open the store up. These are things that this can be the dumb, simple key to extra profitability and communication with your clients.
I'll give you one.
Gotcha.
So there's no doubt technology is not going away, much to my dismay. And the rate of change, as you said in your presentation, is increasing. So, the showroom styles used to last 5, now maybe it's 2. In the traditional brick and mortar, you don't have an infrastructure of the IT department or the social media marketing department. How do you balance, it's one thing, you're right, to invest $100,000 a year in updating your showroom because styles are changing too fast. But the other risk is constantly jumping on board with the latest thing. Whether it's Instagram or it's Pinterest and Facebook now is just old people land. then it's, AI and virtual reality and all these other things. So how do you not overinvest in all of this in constantly jumping on the latest new widget that may actually alienate your base and this constant rate of constantly changing things within your business, how does that reflect on the stability of your brain?
I get that. The most expensive mistake you can make in kitchen and bath, have an outdated showroom. That's going to cost you a kitchen that maybe this manufacturer A that you're dealing with Oh, they changed how they drill the holes in the inside of the cabinet. They've got different hinges. You got to think of those displays when they walk in, because that's the expectation of what's going to show up out there. If you got a display where that manufacturer's maybe changed hinge brands, they've gone different overlay or things like that, that display is costing you money. And if that display, when they walk into your showroom, and it looks a lot like where they have it home, inside their head, they're going, I think I came to the wrong place. Now, to answer your question about social media, that's an interesting one. You can have key people that can manage their time correctly. You don't want to sit there and have somebody at the front desk spending 8 hours a day on social media doing all this stuff. But somebody that's got a pretty good balance to life that can sit there and put up 3 or 4 social media posts. I mean, if you have 5 social media posts a week, you're doing okay. You know, maybe you say, hey, 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning, I'm going to have you come in and just do some social media stuff. Find some good content. Maybe it's a manufacturer of a new product. Maybe it's a new safety thing came out. Maybe there's a tool recall that affects your brand. Put that up there. Creating content. If you've got 25 to 30 posts in a 7-day period, you're doing better than almost everybody else. And maybe it's just, hey, here's the weather coming up. Watch out on the job site, drink water. I mean, it could be something that simple. But I think doing that on a couple different formats, Facebook is still Facebook. They'd say, oh, it's old people. Yeah, but people still go to it for information. Twitter, you can actually set up where you post on your Facebook page that automatically sends it over to Twitter. Okay, well, guess what? You don't have to worry about it. One post goes both places.
Are you selling any kitchens to 19-year-olds anyways?
True. True. But they do sometimes play a part in the decision-making process. You know, the kids get involved in this stuff because the parents are like, oh, I don't want to put something in that's going to be outdated. But you're right. 19-year-olds, not too many 19-year-olds out there are building their first house. But Instagram, take pictures of cool projects you're working on. People love to see building pictures. So have your salesperson when they're out hitting a job site measuring for windows. Have them take some pictures of the job site and post up and go, here's a new one. Then when they're out getting installed, take some more pictures of it. You got a free ad for windows. Those are the things you can do like that to make it fun. But technology, doing that, yeah, there's some risks with that stuff. But if you partner up with the right people, great example, I've been using 2020 design for probably, over 15 years. Probably closer to 20. And it keeps getting updated, keeps getting better, keeps doing its thing. If you get into that, you're not having to retrain people all the time. You're training new people when they come in. If you pick those right partners and pick a technology that will update itself, it's going to work really well for you. And you just keep kind of cruising along. I haven't had to relearn a design program. It's great. It's a key part of my business as a business person. If you get in with retail systems that'll do the same things, you know, just like credit card processing. Something so simple has gotten so interesting. Now you got Google Pay, Apple Pay, all these different things that are going on out there. You can literally tap your phone on a thing and it comes out of their account. So using smart technology in the right places without spending big dollars, I think you're going to see coming up in the next 10 years, to be honest, you're going to see that automated lumberyard. You ever seen in Japan and some of those things, you park your car in a little pod, takes it up, puts it in the very top. They do that for boats now too. Got a robot that's throwing that little box up there. You might see a lumberyard that's so compact with the racks all come in, and you type into the system, and I need 46 2x4/8. It's going to pull that many off the rack, and you're going to cut your square footage down by 25 or 30%. Have they worked out those bugs? Probably not, but I don't think it's that far off. You guys got any more questions?
You see Amazon selling lumber anytime soon?
No. Here's what I think with Amazon, where they're going to go going forward. They're a Northwest kind of company up there. You're going to see Amazon get into, I mean, they're doing food now, obviously. They're going to focus on medical. You're going to see them getting into the drug business. You're going to see them getting into the dental business, and you're going to see them getting into the pet supply medicine business. There's only so much they can do. If you think about it, that's going to force them to build other $1 million square foot warehouses just to supply people across the country. Are they going to get into the lumber building materials business? Not a chance, because they don't understand it. And right now, there's much lower hanging fruit for them to grab. So I wouldn't be scared about those guys at all. Will they be buying tools off there and some of these other little things? Sure, they probably will be. But is that something that's going to be a threat? Doors, windows? They can't even really do cabinets that well out of the and countertops out of their home centers right now. They're trying to get into that business very well. It's just a secondary business for them. So they're not going to get into that anytime soon.
Well, what about Wayfair? They're already offering design services and they're selling kitchens, baths, flooring, all that stuff.
You'll always have somebody that'll be doing that online. But the one thing I think when it comes down to it, especially when we're dealing with interior design products like that, people got to see it. And still, they have not come up with a way online that they're really getting that sample in their hands really well. And I've seen some probably to most, decent horror stories about dealing with that stuff. The one thing with Wayfair is that product shows up off that website. Most are pretty cheaply built. It's that IKEA or lower stuff. It's cheap, but guess what? It sure doesn't last. Then what happens? That follow-up customer, man, that little bathroom vanity would sure look good when it showed up, but I'm 3 years into it, the finish is falling off of it. It's tough on return business when you got a low-quality product. It's great if you're a college kid that's building your first place because you just try to get a house. I don't think it's going to be there long term. I think it'll always, kind of like IKEA, have its own little place. But I don't see people ordering kitchens off that are serious consumers out there that are trying to actually get into it. There's always going to be somebody doing it cheaper when it comes down to that. And that's only 10 or 15% of the marketplace when it comes down to it. Everybody else wants to get service, quality, get some value out of it. Go ahead.
So in your showroom in Portland, is it all virtual? You said you have some hooks still set up, then you have to show some, the cabin door or
In Portland, I'm doing 90% media right now, but my showroom is 450 square feet. And I have a big screen TV in there, and I can plug my laptop into it like this, and I can plug virtual reality into it, and it's almost, I have 2 cabinet displays that are 6 feet wide for both vendors that I use. Everything else is doors and color blocks. I use that because I can show them how the drawer works, how the door closes. This is what plywood looks like. This is what the particle board construction looks like. Then I have boxes of moldings and everything else, and I can work within that. Displays were free. Got those. That's one thing to keep in mind too, and I want to talk about that for just a second before we go. The biggest thing in a kitchen and bath showroom, and I'll give you one of my little key takeaways of this, I don't want to see more than 3 cabinet companies in that showroom. If you got more than that, it's probably costing you money. Here's why. If you've got 3 vendors in a showroom, you can get that entry level, you can get that midline, which is going to be probably 75% of your business, and you got the high end that goes above that helps that high end customer. When you're really important to that cabinet company, you're going to get a lot more free stuff, you're going to get a lot more co-op dollars, you're going to get a lot more other things with it. And when you want to negotiate with that, you mean something to them. If you've got 7 or 8 cabinet lines in there, your designers can't remember how they build that cabinet or how they build that cabinet over here. And that doubles your chances at best of mistakes. And if you got designer mistakes, it's costing you money because those designer mistakes are something that you're paying out of your pocket to fix. So the key to getting a good partner that will give you display samples and all those things is having that 3 or less. Now, if you've got a market where you've got ultra low and ultra high, maybe you bring a 4th one in that kind of handles that. But these companies that I walk into that have 8, 10 cabinet companies, it's costing you serious dollars every single time. So, something to think about. Questions? All right, guys, now we're going to get up to lunch here, but I want to do one thing. I'm going to do a social media post with you guys behind me. Because we're going to talk about how crazy this event is. So we're going to stand up, stretch ourselves out, have some fun here. And we're going to do a social media post like this. All right, guys. This is going out to Portland and beyond. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, guys. Give yourself a hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks, Eric. How about another round of applause for Eric? He did a wonderful job our show on the Experience the Future theme. I just wanted to touch on a couple